We're all aware of isekai slop, right? I mean, it's everywhere, from anime to manga to light novels. And now, even when I start manhwas, it's right there waiting for me too. Same setup, same reincarnation, same I'm secretly broken and no one knows type of main character. So when I saw the greatest estate developer, I rolled my eyes. Because there's no universe where an isekai slop about real estate, construction permits, and debt should be this good. And yet, somehow it was. Like, genuinely good. The kind of good that has you laugh in one chapter and then sitting staring at your screen the next because it suddenly got emotional for like no reason. This story took an isekai premise that I was completely sick of, and instead of power-ups and ore farming, it gave it economics, suffering, and the most unhinged protagonist imaginable. And now that it's finished, despite being quite new to the manhwa scene myself, I honestly think that this might be one of the best manhwas I've ever read. So let me explain why a story about infrastructure and a man named Lloyd Frontera managed to do what almost every other isekai could never. So let's talk about the premise first, because on paper, The Greatest Estate Developer sounds like something I would drop after 3-ish chapters. It's an isekai, and our main character, Kim Suho, gets reincarnated into the fantasy world of the novel that he's been reading. He's stuck there in the body of Lloyd Frontera, a noble who is fated to die in the books. And instead of swords or magic, his greatest weapon is civil engineering. Yeah, that's where most people would close the tab, because we've seen all of this before already. The reincarnated genius, the modern knowledge cheat code, the story where the main character outsmarts everyone by inventing like soap or mayonnaise or whatever and suddenly becomes God. But The Greatest Estate Developer doesn't play it like that. Lloyd doesn't just show up and win. He doesn't instantly fix everything. In fact, the story makes it very clear early on that knowing things isn't just enough. Every plan costs something. Every improvement creates new problems. And every victory comes with consequences. Instead of a power fantasy, this becomes a story about systems, economics, labor, politics, and logistics. Lloyd isn't fighting demon lords, yet. He's fighting budget constraints, public backlash, corruption, and the fact that people don't like change. And that's what makes it so satisfying. When Lloyd builds something, it feels earned. When he succeeds, it's because he understood the situation better than everyone else. And somehow, in the middle of all this bureaucracy and planning, the story is hilarious. The faces are insane. The reactions are exaggerated. Lloyd's descent into financial despair becomes a reoccurring joke that never stops being funny. But beneath the comedy, there's weight. So it starts as an isekai real estate slop, turns into a story about responsibility and what it means to build something that lasts. And that's when you realize that this isn't a gimmick. It's genuinely a well thought out story that just happens to be wrapped in the most ridiculous package imaginable. Now let's talk about Lloyd Frontera, because this man might be the most unhinged protagonist in all of manhwa. At his core, Lloyd is driven by one thing: money. Not glory, not justice, not saving the world, money. From the very beginning, his dream is pretty simple: to get rich enough to retire early and never work another day in his life. And that goal is so aggressively selfish that it's honestly quite refreshing. He doesn't pretend to be a hero. He doesn't make speeches about morality. If there's a way to profit from a situation, Lloyd will find it, and then somehow make it worse for everyone involved. And that greed is exactly what makes him fun to watch. Lloyd treats every person he meets as a potential business opportunity. Peasants, nobles, government officials, even the queen. Everyone is just another possible customer. His internal monologues are basically spreadsheets mixed with panic, and half the time is planned to like elaborate scams that somehow end up improving society by accident. But what really sells Lloyd as a character is that the story doesn't let him stay shallow. Because as much as he says he only cares about money, his actions slowly start to betray him. He starts protecting people, not because it's profitable, but because they're his people. The development is subtle. Lloyd never suddenly becomes noble or selfless. He still complains, he still calculates, he still tries to charge everyone for everything. But over time, you realize he's building something bigger than his retirement fund. He's building a future for the people around him. And that would be great and all if it wasn't for his face. Lloyd might genuinely be one of the ugliest looking main characters in Manhwa. And I mean that in the best way possible. His expressions are terrifying. His smiles look illegal. Half the time, he looks like a sleep-deprived goblin who just discovered what compound interest was. Those insane faces aren't just jokes though, they're visual storytelling. They sell his desperation, his greed, his madness, in a way that dialogue never could. When Lloyd is scheming, you can see it. And when he's suffering, the art makes you suffer too. And somehow, through all the greed, fear, and absolutely cursed facial expressions, Lloyd Frontera becomes someone you genuinely want to root for. Not because he's a hero, or seeks justice or anything like that, but because he's human, greedy, stressed, ugly, and slowly learning that money means nothing if there's no one left to share the world with. Okay, wait, sorry. We just have to talk more about the comedy because it's genuinely one of the best things about this manhwa. And the huge reason it works so well is the dynamic between Lloyd and Javier. For context, Javier is the original main character of the novel, the destined hero, the swordsman, the cool, talented, morally upright guy who's supposed to shine. And instead, he gets paired with Lloyd Frontera, which is just unfair. Their relationship is comedy gold because they're complete opposites at the start. Javier is strong, loyal, and serious, while Lloyd is greedy, cowardly, and constantly scheming. Javier wants to fight honorably, and Lloyd wants to charge admission and sell merch before the fight even starts. Half the humor comes from watching Javier slowly realize that his life has been hijacked by the worst possible person ever. Lloyd constantly drags Javier into nonsense schemes, dangerous construction projects, and morally questionable business decisions, all while acting like this is completely normal. And Javier just goes along with it. Not because he wants to, but because somehow, against all logic, Lloyd keeps being right. And what makes the comedy work is the timing, honestly. The story knows exactly when to let a joke breathe and when to slam you right in the face with one of Lloyd's reaction faces. Lloyd's expressions are definitely unhinged, but Javier's deadpan reactions are what really sell it. One looks like he's losing his mind, and the other looks like he regrets every decision that led him here. And the comedy never undercuts the story. That's the important part. It's rare for a story to balance comedy and progression this well. The jokes never stop the plot, and the plot never kills the jokes. And what makes all that comedy work is what's underneath it. Beneath all the comedy, the scheming, and the chaos, this story is actually about value. Not just money or infrastructure, but the value of effort, systems, and people. Lloyd doesn't just create value by being the strongest guy in the room. He creates it by seeing potential where others see nothing. Roads, water system, housing, labor, things most fantasy stories ignore suddenly become central. Fixing them requires work, patience, and sometimes a bit of madness. Short-term pain leads to long-term payoff, and the story never sugarcoats that. But the story also goes far deeper than just infrastructure. As Lloyd helps build up his estate and develop cities, he also builds relationships. People matter. Workers, allies, and even previous enemies become part of his world. His success isn't measured by the gold in his pockets alone. It's measured by how he improves the lives of those around him. Slowly, begrudging loyalty turns into trust. Fear turns into respect. And in his own messy, greedy way, Lloyd starts to care. It's subtle. He still schemes, he still grumbles, and he still looks terrifyingly unhinged in every panel, but over time, you notice that his actions actually benefit others, not just himself. He invests in people, trains them, protects them, and yes, occasionally exploits them for profit, but there's always a line he won't cross, even if he doesn't admit it. By the end, you understand that value isn't just about money, it's about responsibility, relationships, and the legacy that you leave behind. And that's why this series stands above every other manhwa that I've read. Most stories like this rely on either overpowered characters or endless conflict to maintain interest, but the Greatest Estate developer doesn't. Lloyd isn't a superhero, he's a human being, flawed, greedy, hilarious, and sometimes terrifying, but capable of growth and care. That makes him relatable, unpredictable, and endlessly entertaining. When you step back and look at the whole picture, you realize something important. The Greatest Estate Developer isn't just about greed or ugly faces. It's about building something that lasts. Whether it's cities, systems, relationships, or even just a story that sticks with the reader for a long time after the final page. And that's why, for me, it truly deserves to be called one of the greatest manhwa ever made. So after finishing The Greatest Estate Developer, what do I take away from it? Well, on the surface, it's absurd. A manhwa about real estate, debt, and infrastructure isn't exactly what most people imagine when they think about epic fantasy. And yet it manages to be hilarious, thrilling, and surprisingly heartfelt all at the same time. The series balances comedy, tension, and emotion better than a lot of other media I've consumed. The jokes land without breaking the story. The stakes are real without being overblown. And the moments of genuine growth and care hit even harder because they emerge naturally from Lloyd's journey. At the end of the day, The Greatest Estate Developer isn't just a fun manhwa. It shows you that even the greediest, ugliest, and most ridiculous protagonist can leave a mark on the world, and on you as a reader. So yeah, I finished it, and honestly, it might just be the greatest manhwa that I'll ever read.